Here's Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider, one half of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. He is from Colorado Springs today, where he is at the Board of Governors meetings for the National Hockey League. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I've never been to Colorado Springs. Beautiful spot. Absolute fantastic. It's like a Hallmark movie here. You know, like there's little tufts of snow everywhere, and the hotel that we're staying at is just opulent, obviously. But the Christmas decorations in full bloom. There's mule deer everywhere. Swans swinging, swimming in the lake. Like is
there five golden rings?
Like pretty close. And head of
How
USA
many Cornish
Hockey,
heads?
Yeah, head of USA Hockey, Pat Kelleher, lives here, and he was meeting with a number of different executives this morning, just talking about some of the things that USA Hockey is working on moving forward. But I said to him, I mean, this is borderline ridiculous. And he said, yeah, but he said the snow will melt in a day or two. They golf 12 months of the year here. So you've got the lavishness of, the all world skiing in the mountains, not that far away, because literally we're in the mountains here. And then, city level, it's full steam ahead on the golf course. So it's quite
So you're telling me beautiful surroundings filled with wildlife, and you golf 12 months of the year. Remind you of anywhere, Blake?
I happen to know of a place, but shh, don't tell anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks here, Dregs.
Yeah.
A lot of Canucks fans are very worried that Quinn Hughes has a nickname relationship with Tom Fitzgerald, the general manager, Fitzy, of the New Jersey Devils.
Little did he know.
We learned that on Saturday night.
We did, yeah.
What's your understanding of the Devils' efforts or conversations around the third Hughes brother at this stage of the game?
Well, minimal to non-existent to this stage. And I literally laughed out loud when I heard Quinn refer to Tom Fitzgerald as Fitzy. But, I mean, you guys know Quinn Hughes. You know the personality, the character of the guy, the looseness of that personality. And that's just something that he would say. But he's also not afraid to answer a question. And, he expects the level of speculation that is developing almost on a day-by-day basis now, around his future. He appreciates the Vancouver market and how much collectively we invest in getting the stories. So now, Matt, to answer your question, I think this all dates back to when Patrick Galvin and the Vancouver Canucks put out that memo to the other 31 clubs that said, hey, we have pending unrestricted free agents for sale. Make your best offer, and we'll be happy to talk. Didn't mean that they were pushing guys over the edge. No, they were just interested in getting into the market early, because there's some obvious restrictions that are soon going to be applied. You've got the December 19th roster freeze. You've got the February 4th to the 22nd Olympic roster freeze. So there's some pretty big hurdles here. So let's get the business going early. And I think New Jersey was one of the teams that responded probably through a call and said, okay, well, yeah, you're being very specific to your pending UFAs, but what about your unrestricted free agents? And obviously Fitzgerald and the Devils would have interest in developing a dialogue, if not a negotiation, on Quinn's future, and perhaps reuniting him with Luke and Jack with the New Jersey Devils. It is not elevated beyond that loose conversation. And my understanding is from the Devils side, Quinn's name wasn't even brought up. It was just purely, okay, here's what we're interested in further investigating when you get to that place. And I don't know the identity of the other teams, but I believe there are other teams that would have done the exact same thing. So that kind of brings us to where we're at right now.
And there's good reason why this would just be surface contact from the New Jersey Devils, Dregs. While you can look at the public sites and see that they do, in fact, have cap space available to them, they've got a couple of players on LTIR, including Jonathan Kovacevic, who's a good defenseman.
Well, Brett Pesce may be one of their best.
Well, yeah, that they have to make room for when they come off LTIR. So there's actually a lot less cap space there in New Jersey than what it might look to the naked eye, which brings us to the question of, do you think the Devils could even make a Quinn Hughes trade work in this current season?
I do, because I think when you're talking about the magnitude of the player, Quinn in this case, you have all hands on deck. So everyone associated with making a financial decision, every team has their capologists, their gurus that work on this kind of stuff months and months and months in advance. So I'm sure that, Tom Fitzgerald already has scenarios that could be employed. Could be, right? Many clubs, Callum McCrimmon and the Vegas Golden Knights are masterful at working these sorts of things. I guess the one thing, though, that I'm always reluctant to dive too deep into stories like this, because how often do they come to be in season? Almost never. And not when you're talking about a player of this significance. And, it's not just making the cap work for the New Jersey Devils. Vancouver is going to need a boatload back in return. Very specific pieces that would help the Vancouver Canucks stay competitive this season, if we're talking about an in-season Quinn Hughes trade. And look, I mean, the Canucks won't even go there. They won't even, and I don't blame them. If I'm management of the Vancouver Canucks, I don't want this thing played out on a day-by-day basis in Vancouver and national media. I don't. But you can't close the door on the possibility of a Quinn Hughes trade between now and March 6th until somebody that matters comes out publicly and says it's not happening in season. If it were to happen in season, I think New Jersey and other clubs, if we're allowing other clubs to be involved in this conversation, would find a way. They just find a way to get it done.
If I had to press you, if he gets traded, would you be betting on the field or the New Jersey Devils at this point? Because I think a lot of people in their minds are just, he's going to the Devils. But he doesn't have to go to the Devils, and the Vancouver Canucks are not shopping him purely to the Devils. They've got 31 teams they want to shop him to.
And that's the leverage from the Vancouver Canucks standpoint. They need to get the best deal possible if, again, they're willing to stomach everything. Because when you trade your captain, when you trade a superstar like Quinn Hughes, you're renovating at least, and then some, right? So what are you getting back? And for sure you'd be shopping whatever deal New Jersey is presenting with other teams that would be teams of interest. I believe Quinn wants to play in the East. Do I think his preference is to play with his brothers? Obviously, that would be priority one. That would be his preference. And maybe a contract extension becomes more complicated, clearly, if it's not the New Jersey Devils, right? So I think that's option A that has to be exhausted. And probably the primary reason why this likely drifts into the offseason to officially get done. But, now you bring it back onto the ice in Vancouver, and you can see all the needs that are glaringly obvious. The holes are ginormous in that Vancouver Canucks lineup. They need players who can step in and play and be impactful right now. So what is that best package? And if I'm Tom Fitzgerald, and I think that there's even a shred of hope that we can get something done between now and March 6th, well, that's what he's doing. That's what he has to be doing. Putting together a package that includes pieces that slip comfortably into Vancouver's lineup now. Then you've got the futures, which include draft picks and prospects.
Dawson Mercer, Simone Nemec, just a few things on the to-do list here
they've got good young players. Yeah.
The thing that's pouring gasoline on this story right now, too, is the fact that the New Jersey Devils are not playing well. They have lost 5 in a row. Quinn Hughes is not playing well. You can't get a point these days. That's exacerbating this, because it certainly seems like both sides need each other in a lot of ways. It doesn't clear up the cap space, all the hurdles we talked about. But until either of those storylines changes here, Dregs, I think this is probably just going to build.
It could. The New Jersey Devils, like so many other teams, clearly, including Vancouver, are banged up with significant injuries, significant pieces that aren't available to them. And my theory on Quinn is, just because I feel like I know Quinn and the family pretty well, he's one of those individuals that takes a lot of responsibilities. He's looking around the room and I'm sure across the bench, and sure, he can see the holes that they have. The fact they've got David Kampf as their number one center right now is mind-blowing. I mean, it's just flat out mind blowing. But Quinn isn't looking there and going, somebody has got to do something. I mean, in the privacy of his own home, maybe that's how he feels. But no, he's one of those players that probably feels, I need to do more. I'm healthy. I'm the captain of this team. I have to find a way to drag this team to wins and drag this team closer to the cut line of the wild card spot in the West. That's my job. It doesn't matter who isn't here. It's what I have to do. And I think, frankly, that's taking a toll on him mentally and physically. That's at least the way it looks to me.
You mentioned David Kampf as first center being mind-blowing, Dregs. To the best of your knowledge, why weren't the Canucks able to better address the center ice position when they spoke it out loud at the end of last season and when they knew the realities of this season being so important to keep Quinn?
Yeah. I mean, it's a fair question. And then you can go back to the Miller trade, right? And getting Philip Hedl back in that trade with the New York Rangers. And, you know, with the injury record of Philip Hedl, was that too big a gamble? And now, obviously, you would say, yes, of course it was. I mean, who knows if this guy, when he's going to play again, right? And, you know, even with a healthy Hedl, they saw him as just an okay number two, right, but we're looking for a legit number two. Well, now they're looking for 1, 2, 3. I mean, really, that's what they're looking for. You know, if you've got David Kampf on your 4-hole, okay, that's what he is. He's number 4 center. That's what he is. Now, I think this just, though, illustrates how difficult it is, impossible nearly, to make a trade in the National Hockey League for probably a lot of the reasons we've already talked about. Because, guys, you follow this organization closely. You know the pool that Patrick Allvin is working with in terms of the assets that he has that should lure a player into that lineup. And I don't know. I don't. And I mean, you look at the standings every morning and you see how tight it is, literally from top to bottom. The Calgary Flames win a couple of games, they're right back. I mean, it's crazy how tight things are, which I think, again, puts a stranglehold on trades. But, you know, I think the narrative is starting to build now around Vancouver saying, okay, stop looking for the home run pitch and hit a single, hit a double. Just get a body in here, a center with some experience that can help us out a little bit, that can help us stay competitive. And they just haven't been able to find that piece.
I don't want to live in the past too much, but did they ever table a full offer for Marco Rossi, do you think? Do you think they ever actually sent something to Bill Guerin?
Yeah, I don't know the parameters of that conversation. And it's not very often where you get a full offer table, to be honest, Blake. Yeah. You know, you nibble at the parameters of what, well, here's the principal piece. It's Marco Rossi. What are you interested in? And then Billy Guerin probably says, well, you know, I need your best player or one of your top young players. And then I need this and this. And it doesn't go a whole lot further than that. So I'm not answering your question because I don't know with any sort of clarity that an official offer was made beyond just having, you know, those sort of broader conversations. And it could be in part, you know, Minnesota also trying to figure out exactly what direction they were going with Marco Rossi and trying to smoke him out in that process.
I'm just wondering if they had a time machine, if they would go straight back to that last conversation.
We had the conversation last week, Blake, like Elias Pettersson, the defenseman. They didn't want to put him in trade talks. Teams were calling about him. They saw what we all saw in the last 20 games of last year, that was a good, young, promising defenseman. He took a step back here this year, but like they didn't want to part with those sorts of assets.
All the more reason to find that time
and
machine.
It's coming back to bite them. No, I know.
Well,
okay, so I think...
I'm seeing some speculation quickly just because we're talking about centers on Philip Deneau and the LA Kings, right?
Just going to ask you about him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that has more to do with maybe Deneau feeling like he's a bigger role player than the role that he has with Los Angeles. Maybe it feels like it's time for a change of scenery. Although what I can tell you is my LA sources are going, okay, great. We trade Phil Deneau, then guess what? We need a player like Philip Deneau. We've got to now go out and find that player. And, you know, just to use a comp, is it Ryan O'Reilly with the Nashville Predators? If Barry Trotz is finally willing to make a move, and some believe that he's getting closer to that reality, Okay, well then if you're LA, what are you giving up to acquire, a piece like that? So, I mean, every player is available to a point, especially a player at the level where you would slot Phil Deneau, but I don't think there's a whole lot to it other than maybe the player just wanting a fresh start, change of scenery because he wants a bigger opportunity.
All right. We know you're busy there at the governor's meetings in Colorado Springs. Go have at it. Maybe you get a round of golf in as well. Thanks, Dregs. Until next week.
Okay, guys, have a great week.